going through some of the cabinet issues yesterday, and we'll be doing another couple of conversations about it today, and we'll continue trying to understand the new cabinet ministers, the new way of operating in cabinet, and so on. But we were talking about the size of the cabinet, and I was arguing that it is larger than we would like, but that may be what we gain from having this expanded cabinet in terms of getting more parties involved in trying to establish a platform of stability from which our country can start to grow again. Maybe that was worth the extra expense. We were talking about 32 ministers and 43 deputy ministers, and people were asking, what do deputy ministers do? Well, let's ask somebody who has recent experience of being a deputy minister, John Jeffery, Deputy Justice Minister for the ANC. John, good afternoon.
Afternoon, John, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Are you experiencing, I don't know, post-election blues, out-of-office blues in any way?
No, I'm enjoying the time off.
Okay. So what does a deputy minister do?
They're appointed by the president, so they're not appointed by the minister, and the minister can't fire them, so it's only the president that can fire them. So, but obviously they're not working for the minister, but they're obviously there to support the minister. I think it would differ from ministry to ministry. Usually what will happen is that the minister will delegate certain functions or areas of responsibility to a deputy minister. In my case, and I was deputy minister for just under 11 years, under three ministers, it was very much a full-time job. So I was a bit amused by people saying the deputy minister doesn't do anything. What I would do would be, I had the function delegated to me of appointment of acting magistrates, which was a very onerous task and not something that you could just simply sign people recommended. There would be issues of appointment of small claims court boards and committees, and then a number of areas of responsibility, including legislation, which was also quite onerous. So I think there is a lot of work there can be a lot of work for deputy ministers to do.
And is it work that is needed to be done by deputy ministers? Or is it work that could be done, is it political work because ministers are political appointments? Or is it work that could and perhaps should be done by more efficient, better organized administrators, directors general, deputy directors general, and so on?
Look, the way the system works is that the minister, the deputy minister are political appointments and both account to Parliament for what they're doing. The minister's the executive authority. From the administration, it's headed by the Director General, who is the accounting officer. But the Director General and the officials account through the minister to Parliament. But effectively, it is the political role. You're there representing the public. So officials might take longer than they should. There might be a mess up in a particular section. One of the things I tried to address was the problems in the master's office. That there were a lot of public complaints about. So, and if you basically sit with officials and get regular reports on their programs, I think you can make a difference on how things are run in a particular department.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people would say you didn't achieve much success in fixing the problem at the
master's office. No, not as much as I would have liked to have. I mean, it was more systems that were a bit difficult to address from a political level. But there were lots of engagements both with the master's staff, and I think there were some improvements.
But surely, John, you can understand why people are skeptical. They look at it was the cabinet announcement. We understand that technically deputy ministers are not part of the cabinet, but the announcement was made at the same time. And you look at the Department of Defence and you see two deputy ministers and you go, defence budgets have been declining budget on budget for however many years. And yes, we still are involved in peacekeeping operations and so on, unhappily so, particularly in the DRC. But, what on earth does the defence portfolio need two deputy ministers for? And there is some understanding of the fact that political considerations are at play here because of the government of national unity. But surely you can understand the sort of sense from the public that too many people are getting the elevated salaries and elevated perk structure that comes with being a minister or a deputy minister.
Yeah, look, I can't really talk about other departments. I was only in one. I think, as I think you had said in your introduction, that the increase in the number of deputy ministers does relate to what I would say bringing stability to government in terms of accommodating different people, whether it's from the same party, whether it's from other parties. So I think that is an element, and there has been an increase in the numbers of deputy ministers. But this issue of deputy ministers don't do anything. We don't need them. With due respect, that is not correct. They have a lot to do, and it would be, as I said, the delegations where you're exercising particular functions and powers. It would be monitoring programs of the department. The legislative program, ultimately, where it's the minister's bill in Parliament, is not something that officials, I think, can necessarily deal with entirely on their own.
So there's no sense that at any time you were doing make work in order to justify an elevated salary, that you felt that the work that you were doing
not
was...
at all. It was 7 days a week and 24 hours in a day. It could be. So that is why I'm enjoying. That's why I wanted to opt out after 10, 11 years. And why I'm enjoying a bit of a break, which I haven't had before.
John, thanks very much. Appreciate your insights into this matter. John Jeffery, as John said, for 11 or so years, Deputy Minister of Justice. I don't know whether you found that convincing or not.